would definitely
I am a certified ethical slut.
Yeah, I'm definitely a slut, and ethical ideally. That's the goal.
I would consider myself an ethical slut.
Yeah, I would consider myself ethical.
Would you consider yourself a slut?
Aesthetically.
I think aesthetically.
I'm pretty ethical, I'd like to think. You know, I stop at stop signs.
Homegrown, organic.
Yeah, cage-free.
Yes, I'm an ethical slut.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I'm an ethical slut.
I am a non-ethical slut. I poop on priests. I spit on babies. I lay on a bed made from poached baby seal furs, and I watch illegally downloaded films before I go to bed like an angel. And I don't pay taxes!
What do baby seals ever do to you?
I'm unethical.
I'm dating Leo and Zoe and kind of Bella, and then my domestic relationships with you guys.
I am dating Emma and Aaron, so just those two for now.
I'm dating Aaron and Leo and Alex.
I am dating Em. Em is my primary partner.
I'm dating Kennedy.
I'm dating Aaron, dating Zoe. And that's it.
I'm dating Dee Dee. Have been for like 2.5 years now. Which is fucking crazy. Monogamy, I think for myself, is finding someone that, like I said previously, that I have such a great boat, why would I dare rock it? Potentially injure that relationship when that relationship is so perfect already.
Monogamy being the societal norm, typically it's like one partner, nuclear family, you get everything from that partner.
I can't remember where I read it, and don't quote me on this, but I think like monogamy as we know it today has only existed for about 3,000 years.
I think that the monogamous like relationship structure is so like conditioned into us from like an early age that we're like used to it, like we're practiced in it, and so like a different relationship structure like this is kind of overwhelming because you have to relearn like these relationship fundamentals and how to feel secure and like valued and how to set boundaries, and that's like not stuff I feel like we are conditioned to think about. So it is like a practice.
When did you guys first start learning about polyamory?
Well, I started hearing about it in high school because I remember we were wee little high schoolers and you're like, look at this book I got! And I was like, let me know how that goes, because I was in a very monogamous relationship.
Yeah, and then
at
I
the
just
time.
wouldn't shut up about it to you.
I was kind of aware of it as like a relationship structure, and I did it kind of semi with like on and off like friends with benefits, which is how like kind of I like to think of it as having lots of friends, and some of those friends are really hot and you like hang out with those friends in friendlier ways. And then I found out that you can like do that ethically and like in a controlled and like healthy like boundary manner, and I was like, that's kind of dope.
I was first introduced to it when I was in high school, and I had a couple friends that were like in polyamorous relationships, so I've always been aware of it but didn't want to like practice it until recently.
I started learning about it more recently, like this past year.
My first exposure to like things that were like polyamorous were like on TLC and everything like that, with like the very like, I don't know, skewed like religious version of what polyamory is in like religious context. But in real life I was like introduced to the concept last year because I was trying to like date somebody and they're like, I'm polyamorous, and I'm like, I'm a jealous human being, I can't do this. He made a lot of sense with it. Like, whenever you have kids, you love your kid, and then you have another kid and you love them just the same. So it's like, you have so much love to share, you can share it with like multiple people, and it doesn't change the dynamic with each person.
One of the things that motivated me more towards like non-monogamy as a concept was just, I understood jealousy, but I had never really experienced jealousy when it came to romantic partners.
I'm jealous.
I experience jealousy more when it comes to like platonic relationships, and usually it just has to do with like someone who I want to spend more time with. When it came to partners, I was just like, yeah, this sounds completely logical. Like, it sounds really logical to be like, well, I can't give my partner everything they want, so as opposed to them breaking up with me and finding someone else, why don't they just have multiple partners? Or why don't I just have multiple partners?
The word itself is like not monogamous, which to me it can be hard to describe because it's could be simple, but is actually just like more complicated than it sounds because there's a total restructuring of your understanding of relationships.
There's also a level of maturity I think people have to have in order to engage in polyamory. If you were talking to me freshman year of college, I don't think I was mature enough to be in a monogamous relationship, let alone a polycule. Like, you need to be able to communicate so effectively that I definitely couldn't 2 years ago. You have to be more emotionally vulnerable. Polyamory, at least for me, is engaging in romantic relationships with multiple people at one time, whether that be separate from one another or all at once, like what we've got going on.
Or a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah, you know, you get to pick and choose.
Yeah.
And then Polycule is the whole chart of everyone that is involved with one another. I have metamors, which is like my partner's partner, and like all that whole configuration of people is the Polycule. So like me and Em are metamors, and Aaron and Kennedy are metamors, but we're not directly connected, so we're like metamors once removed.
It's like a different feeling than like a friend group, because like in my specific friend group, cuddling's out of the question, like kissing is out of the question, like, you know, you're just pals that like converse, which is completely fine, like in those specific friendships, but like with, like, this is just like a big hug.
Before this, I've only ever been in one long-term relationship that was monogamous, and I definitely feel like a better sense of like security with having like multiple people around me, and like it definitely feels like I'm not expected to be a certain way or like perform a certain role.
I feel like I personally would be less okay with monogamy if I was a straight person. If I was dating a man.
Can you elaborate on that? I'm sorry,
I'm just thinking about it.
This is a new, what, Alexa being straight?
No, but like being like, well, if I was straight, why the fuck would I settle for a single man?
In my relationship and as a lesbian, it's very much we are equals, and if I was with a man, there would always be that context and that history behind that where we wouldn't have been.
The dynamic is
and
definitely
so then I
different.
think, yeah, I'm more comfortable with that because I will always be seen as an equal and will always be seen as the same as the person I'm dating, rather than an inherent hierarchy that's been like driven through time.
I had never been more inclined towards non-monogamy than when I was in relationships with straight men, and that dynamic was present. Historically, straight men in relationships with queer women or like queer femme people tend to only be interested in non-monogamy when it benefits them sexually and they get something out of it. So they're like, I'll have a threesome, but it can only be with a girl, and you can't have any outside relationships or see any men, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they're only threatened by the idea of another male presence, but as long as they can get off to it.
You've been in past relationships where like we've definitely been vocal about our relationship and how close we are, but it was never, you know, past partners never even saw me as a threat, like a non-existent thing.
Which is funny because you were so much more of a threat than any other person in my life.
And look who's here today with me. Like, I've got a primary partner, but, you know, I consider you guys like my nesting partners. It's essentially kind of like the partner you come home to. It's a very domestic-based relationship. There's a lot more affection involved. Even, like, I can lovingly refer to you, like, as my wife. There's a certain level of, like, emotional closeness that I can share with you guys that I won't necessarily share with others.
You know, like, we're dating, and then the rest of the people in the polycule, like, in relation to them are, like, nesting partners. You know, an occasional, like, peck with someone or cuddle or, like, flirting and stuff like that, but, like, anything else would need to be, like, discussed.
Oh, we talked about compersion, like, the other day, when we were out on our little piercing buddy excursion.
Our little date.
Yeah, our little date.
Yeah.
And we were I was talking about that TikTok that Kennedy made.
Yes,
with Emma.
it's
I
so
love
cute.
that TikTok. Yeah,
It's so cute. Like,
Where
I
it's
get
like-
butterflies when like one of my partners talks to another one and they're flirting. I'm like, oh my god, like you guys are flirty. Like, I get little butterflies.
I'm lucky enough that I get to be involved, but like I don't necessarily have to be to experience joy knowing that you guys are happy and like getting to see that.
In the same way that you would be excited about, you know, a friend's first date or their accomplishments. And I think that gratitude and insecurity struggle to exist in the same place. And so being excited for my partner's happiness, you know, makes me happy, because if I love someone, I want them to have, you know, an overwhelming abundance of love and not like a scarcity of it.
I have felt the like happiest that I have in a long time, and it's since I've been introduced to these relationships that I've been building with people who are like super close friends, and like I love them, you know? It's been like a very positive experience because I learn a lot about myself while also getting to learn about these incredible people around me, and like I really like opening my world up to them and like myself too.
Like, it makes sense in my mind, but like trying to convey that to like people, especially in my like work environment, like my family environment, you know, I just basically say I'm just dating them. Once I establish that, then I'm like, okay, so let's go a step further and like explain like what's actually going on. You know, I'll explain there's like multiple people and there's a lot going on. It's different than friends, and like, you know, it's just a very comfy like community, and like you can see the wheels turning in their brain. I'm just like, you know what, you can think of me however you want to think of me, but this is me at the end of the day, and you know, take it or leave it.
You shouldn't act on how you like other people are going to perceive what makes you happy.